Helping my friend reanimate the dead, the monster awakens in my basement. Now it's hunting for revenge. Matthew. What is this? Matt had invited me over for the night to help with a project he'd been working on for the past few weeks. I hadn't seen him during that time, so I figured it must have been something personal. I agreed without hesitation. But standing there in his basement, staring at the covered shape lying on a table, I immediately regretted it. It's what I've been working on, he said. And what exactly is that supposed to be? I asked, irritation growing in my voice. Seriously? You don't remember? A few weeks ago we watched that movie, and I said I was going to try it myself. I narrowed my eyes. I couldn't tell if he was joking or if he really expected me to recall some random movie. No, Matt, I don't. How about you remind me so I can figure out what I'm even looking at? He sighed. We watched those old horror movies, and the one with the scientist and the monster came on. You made a joke about how cool it'd be if someone actually tried it, and I said I probably could, if I had the time. Well, now I have. Smiled and glanced at the table. It took me a second, but then it clicked. You're talking about Frankenstein? I was completely out of it that night. Why would you even take that seriously? I cut myself off as I looked down at the shape, under the blanket. The silhouette was unmistakable. Matt, what exactly is under this blanket? It's the monster from the movie, he said. Or at least, the best I could do. I'm no scientist. What I saw when he pulled back the cover resembled Frankenstein's monster, at least in concept. But it wasn't green. The body was made of mismatched skin, each section with a different tone, age, and level of damage. One blackened forearm looked like it came from a teenager, while the chest was pale and covered in scars. Even the fingers on one hand were uneven and oddly colored. The face looked like a grim puzzle made from several different people. I froze in shock, horrified. Without thinking, I grabbed Matt by the collar and shoved him against the wall. What? The hell did you do? I yelled. What? I just did what you said. I made the thing from the movie. He looked between me and the table, genuinely expecting some kind of approval. Where did you even get these parts, Matt? Did you? He cut me off quickly. No, of course not. I'm not a killer. I got them from the hospital. I stared at him, still trying to process what he had just said. You know I've been working there, right? So, when there were accidental deaths, organ removals, I took a few things. He grinned like he had done something clever. Things? Matt, these are human remains. I let go of him and started pacing, pulling the blanket back over the thing on the table. You said it'd be cool if someone made it, he argued. So I did. Now I just need to figure out how to bring it to life. Do you even hear yourself? This is insane. You can't bring it to life. It was a movie. A fictional story, Matt. He threw his arms down, frustrated. Fine, I'll finish it myself then. Like a stubborn kid, he pulled the cover off the upper half of the corpse and dug into his pocket, pulling out nails and pressing them into the skin in different spots. I sat there in stunned silence, disgusted by what I was witnessing. How could someone I knew act so casually about this? He started attaching wires and cords to the nails, carefully arranging them across the body like he was wiring up an old stereo. I finally stood up and made for the stairs. I slammed the basement door behind me, walked to the front door, and noticed the storm outside. Heavy rain beat against the windows as thunder rumbled. Just then, I heard him running up the basement steps. Where are you going? He asked, out of breath. Home, Matt. I'm going home. But why? I just hooked up the last wire. Everything's ready. Matt, listen to yourself. This is beyond crazy. You've got pieces of dead people on your basement table. Do you really believe plugging a few wires into a power strip is going to do anything? But the movie? You said someone should try it. Matt, come on. You're smarter than this. It was a movie. It was never real. His expression darkened. He slammed the basement door behind him and started walking toward me. You know what? Forget it. I spent over a month getting this ready for you, and this is the thanks I get? Thanks? You expect me to thank you for stealing body parts from dead people? I put real effort into this. Yeah? And what's your plan when you flip the switch and absolutely nothing happens? The storm outside was growing worse. Heavy rain slammed the windows, thunder cracked overhead, and I honestly thought the roof might come off any second. I don't need this. If you're going to keep acting like this, just leave. Oh, I'm leaving. And when your little science project fails, don't come asking for help. Suddenly, thunder boomed louder than anything I'd heard before. The whole house shook, the lights flickered, and then shattered with a loud pop. In seconds, we were standing in total darkness. Great. We're arguing, and now the power's out, Matt said as he walked into the kitchen, rummaging through drawers. I stood by the front door, watching the storm worsen through the windows. A few moments later, Matt returned and handed me a flashlight. Here, I'm going to check the breaker. When I get back, we're having a serious conversation about this. I told you, I'm leaving. That's final. I tried handing the flashlight back, but he pushed it toward me. Please, just stay inside until I get back. The weather's getting bad fast. You can't drive in this. He looked at me, desperation in his eyes. I'd known Matt for nearly 15 years. He was a good guy, just reckless, and here I was shouting while my best friend clearly needed help. I sighed. Fine. He smiled and grabbed his coat from the hook, brushing past me to the front door. I'll be right back. As soon as he opened the door, cold wind blew in. The trees outside looked like they were ready to snap in half. He gave me a quick nod, and then stepped out, shutting the door behind him. I was alone. 10 minutes passed. No power, no Matt. I was starting to worry he might have fallen or gotten hurt. I headed to the coat hanger to grab my jacket and go check when I heard a noise, coming from the basement. I turned toward the door, listening. It sounded like heavy footsteps, deliberate and uneven, directly beneath me. Slowly, I walked over and cracked the door open, staring into pitch black. I switched on the flashlight and pointed it down the stairs. The beam hit the carpet at the bottom. The footsteps continued, louder and more urgent now, but there was nothing in sight. I swallowed hard and called out, "Is someone down there? Matt? Did you come back through the hatch?" Matt's basement, although finished, had a hatch exit to the backyard. I figured maybe he hurt himself and came in that way instead of the front. I slowly stepped into the dark, the flashlight guiding me through the familiar space. I entered the sitting area where Matt and I had been earlier that night. The blanket was now on the floor. The table was empty. My chest tightened as I stood frozen. The body, the patchwork corpse wired and nailed together, was gone. The extension cord, too. Only the control box remained, still plugged into the wall. When the power surged back briefly, it must have sent a charge through the system. Somehow it worked. As I stared at the table, something shifted in the corner of my vision, just beyond the flashlight's reach. Near the wall leading to the back room, I saw a human-like shape, but something about it was wrong. I swung the flashlight toward it. All I saw were 5 fingers curling back into the dark. A gasp escaped me before I covered my mouth. At that moment, the front door burst open and Matt called out, "The whole breaker's fried! I can't fix it!" I didn't reply. I just stood, frozen, staring into the dark. He reached the basement door and looked down at me. "Hey, what's going on? Why are you down there?" I struggled to speak, my throat dry. "It's down here. It's moving." His face changed instantly, confusion replaced by a look of shock and twisted excitement. He gave a silent gesture, urging me to come back upstairs. I nodded and began stepping back, carefully. As I moved, the figure shifted. From the edge of the darkness, it revealed itself. Its eyes, 2 different shapes and colors, locked onto mine as I raised the flashlight. It was massive, filling the beam's glow. The stitches covering its body oozed red and yellow fluid. It tried to make sounds, but only managed a string of low, guttural moans. Each step I took backward, it mirrored with one forward. I reached the top just as it arrived at the first step. As soon as I crossed the threshold into the kitchen, I slammed the basement door shut behind me. On the other side, we could hear it, slamming against the door, grunting, screaming. Matt and I stood side by side, equal parts horrified and amazed. His creation was alive, and it had no idea what it was, or why it existed, and it was angry. I heard it nearly stumble back down the stairs as it retreated into the basement. Matt stood frozen, his hands trembling. I slowly locked the basement door, then moved toward him, gently grabbing his arm. "We need to leave. Now," I spoke quietly, trying not to raise my voice, careful not to alert whatever was down there. He didn't answer, just stared at his hands and gave a slow nod. I couldn't tell what he was thinking. Maybe nothing at all. He looked like he was still processing the fact that his creation was now walking, not lying lifeless on a table. But regardless of what was going through his mind, I knew we had to go. That thing below us was getting more agitated by the second. I could hear it crashing into furniture and knocking things over. It tried to scream, but the sound came out muffled and wet. "Matt, now." I gripped his shoulder. That finally seemed to bring him back to the moment. He nodded again, and we began to move cautiously toward the front of the house. I reached for my car keys when we heard a loud crash from the basement. Then silence. We both froze, waiting for more noise. But nothing came. Matt's face went pale. "The hatch," he whispered. Did I lock it?" "You're kidding me, right?" I snapped in a hushed tone, taking a shaky breath and pressing my fingers to the bridge of my nose. "Okay, we just need to get to my car. Once we're in, we're fine." I grabbed the doorknob, ready to open it, but something in me hesitated. I suddenly felt uneasy, like something wasn't right. I let go of the handle and stepped back. Matt watched me, puzzled at first until he seemed to sense it too. We both stared at the door, and then we heard it, faint breathing on the other side. Matt slowly backed away into the living room. I stayed near the door, hoping the breathing would fade. It didn't. Now and then, the thing would lean into the door, and the wood would creak under the pressure, like it could give way any moment. I turned to speak with Matt when a heavy pounding came from behind me. The thing was losing control. It let out a guttural scream, barely formed words, more like cries of confusion and rage. It was so loud, it drowned out the sound of the storm outside. Damn it, what are we supposed to do? I began pacing, trying to stay calm as the door continued to shake with each blow. The creature's roars grew more intense. Matt sat quietly, still fidgeting with his hands. Then he stood and walked toward the kitchen. "Where are you going?" "Did you think of something?" I followed after him. "Yeah," he said. "I'm going to go out the back and draw it away." "I'm sorry." "What?" I blinked at him. "I'll get its attention. While it's focused on me, you run to your car and get out of here." He said it with a strain in his voice, as if it hurt to say. "No way. I'm not letting you go out there with that." He interrupted before I could finish. "Look, man, I'm the one who asked you to come here. This was my idea, and it blew up in our faces. Let me fix it by getting you out." I stared at him as the pounding behind us intensified. I wanted to argue, say anything to change his mind, but I knew I couldn't. Matt wasn't the kind of person who backed down when it came to protecting people. Nothing I said was going to stop him. I walked over and hugged him without thinking. "You have to promise you'll be okay. Please." He gave a half laugh and stepped back. "Come on, who else are you going to watch horror movies with?" We both managed a small smile. Then he headed for the back door. When you hear the door open and me yelling, just run. Get to the car and go. I'll call you once I'm safe. I nodded. He gave me one last look, then disappeared down into the basement. A few minutes later, I heard his voice screaming from outside. The pounding at the front door stopped. The creature was listening. Then the noise moved toward the back. As its attention shifted, I opened the front door and ran, sprinting to my car. I jumped in, slammed the door, and looked back at the house for a second before starting the engine and driving away. I waited 3 days for a call from Matt. Every hour, I was on edge, expecting either him or that thing to show up at my door. Deep down, I think I already knew the call wouldn't come, but I kept hoping anyway. Last week, Matt's family called. They found him dead at home. The neighbors had reported strange noises, and when police arrived, they discovered his body in the basement. The family told me he had been mutilated. The scene was so disturbing that authorities wouldn't even let them see him. They called it a murder. But no suspects were found. The entire basement was covered in fingerprints belonging to people who were already deceased. But I know what happened. Or rather, who did it? Matt must have known he wouldn't survive. And even though it was his plan, it doesn't make it any easier. I have to live with the fact that he died to save me. I should be overwhelmed with guilt. And maybe I am. Matt built the thing. He came up with the plan. But I can't shake the feeling that I played a part in it all. I was the one who got him into horror in the first place. Now I have to live with something worse, the thought that it's still out there, somewhere, watching me, waiting to do to me what it did to Matt. I keep listening for its breaths, for its groans of confusion and pain. For the moment it comes looking for answers and revenge.